Hey yo, what's the deal? It's the Don, Tony Teflon. Cheer! House Teflon. Cheer! We pull the strings. Cheer! And I'm back at you with another video. And first, usually I do videos, I try to space them out so I can, so that, you get a certain amount of views on this video, a certain amount of views on this video. I think if you put too many up too quick, then people don't look at your old ones, But I've been holding this one back for some time, and I decided just to put this out there for you and stuff like that. So this is a bonus. I think this is a video I wanted to do for a while. So I think maybe people want to hear this video. After I'm done with this, I know there's a couple of people who asked me to do videos, and I'm going to do their videos in between doing the Game of Thrones season review. Alright, now this video is basically the Battle of Ice. I'm going to focus on the Battle of Ice between Stannis and the Frey, Mandalay, Bolton army approaching him, not the actual siege of Winterfell. Alright, now basically none of us know how this is going to end or who's going to win this battle because it's not written. But I think that if we use a couple of methods, we could figure out, and I think personally that it's pretty easy to see who wins this battle. And in order for me to do that, I got to go to the greatest military tactician mind of all time, Tzu. Alright? Now, we know who Tzu is. He's the creator of the art of war. Now, people may not know who he is. So I'll give you a tiny bit of background on Tzu. Alright? Now, basically there was a ruler. His name was Halu, and he ruled Wu. And he was very nervous that this enemy, who was 3 times his size, was going to come and invade his army, his kingdom. So he calls on Tzu, a general, to lead his army. Now Tzu tells him, assures him 100% that he can take his little army, even though it's 1/3 the size of the other army coming in there, that he can defeat them. So the king doesn't really believe him. So he gives him a challenge. He says, I have these concubines, these little frail women that they know nothing but sex or anything like that. He says, "Do you think you could take these women and make them into fierce warriors?" So Tzu was like, "Yeah, I believe I can do that." So that's what he sets off to do. Tzu then, he goes over and he chooses 2 generals of the women, and he makes them the generals, and he shows them a few maneuvers. And he goes to them, "I want you to go and instruct when the drum starts moves to beat. I want you to go into these moves that I just taught you and have your people go into these same moves." So the drums start to beat. But when they do, the ladies just start to giggle and laugh. So then Tzu says maybe he wasn't clear with his orders. So he tells them again, the generals, when the drums beat, I want you to go into the maneuvers I taught you and your people too, to go into these maneuvers. So Tzu then tells the drums to beat. The drums beat, but once again, the ladies laugh like they have no idea what's going on. So, in the art of war, Tzu says, if the orders are not clear, then it is the fault of the general. But if the orders are clear, then it is the fault of the soldiers. Now, knowing that he was clear with his instructions, Tzu knows that the fault relies on the ladies. He must then let them understand what's going on. So what he does, he goes over to the 2 generals that was there, and he chops both of their heads off. Now all these other ladies see him, and they see him, these ladies drop dead. And after he kills them, he appoints 2 more generals, ladies, and makes them generals. And he says the same thing to them. When these drums beat, I want you to go into your moves I taught you. So then the drums beat, and then once the drums beat, without hesitation, all these ladies go right into the moves. And the reason why this is, and this is one of his main principles in the art of war, Tzu says, war is death. And when everyone knows this, everyone will fall in line. And as for the ladies, just like them, they fell in line very fast. So, using some of Sun Tzu's principles in the art of war, I'm going to try to explain to you why I believe Stannis Baratheon will win this battle, and will win it pretty easily. So, that's what this video is about. And just like I said before, I'm not going to focus on the siege of Winterfell. I'm just going to focus on the things leading up, Stannis being stopped, in my opinion, exactly what's going on there. Alright? We left seeing Stannis. He was freezing in a small village 3 days west of Winterfell. The journey was long, it was slow. Their stop seemed temporary at first, but instead of marching, the army stayed put in this small village. Now people think that they just stopped here because the winds were cold and it was snowing and everything else. But me, the Don, I think Stannis meant to stop, because I think he meant to hold that ground. Now at the village, one of Stannis' knights, Sir Richard, asked to go fish the lakes for food because they were getting low. Stannis then says, "Fish then," he said, biting each word with a snap. "But we march at first light." And he said that in the King's Prize chapter. But the next morning, they didn't march. Now, why wouldn't they march? That's what we have to think about. Now, let me give you one of Sun Tzu's principles. Sun Tzu says, "Know your enemy and know yourself, and in 100 battles you will never be in peril." Now, when you look at the history of wars, and especially wars in Westeros, most people use a kind of a chess game plan of attack. Now, we know what chess is. Chess is a game where you have to fight head to head versus your enemy, and your objective is to kill the king. Now, I think that's what Stannis was doing. He was doing a regular chess plan, going mano a mano. Now we know that people like to fight this way because to them it proves themselves in battle, it gives them glory, and it gives them honor. Just to fight on the lines. We see this from Westeros, from all the way down from George Washington with the troops just standing up and shooting each other, and other ones taking time to load. This is the way it was all the way. But here, I think we see Stannis playing a different strategy, a Go type strategy. Now, Go is a game that is played on a chessboard, but instead of seizing people and fighting head up, your job in that game is to capture the most area with the least amount of stones. And I think that is what Stannis is using, and that is what Sun Tzu used all the time, a Go method in battle. I think a closer look at the lay of the land will explain why Stannis wanted to stop and fight here. Now, remember, Sun Tzu says, know your enemy and know yourself, and in 100% of battle and 100 battles you will never be in peril. Now Stannis knows himself. When Stannis was the master of ships for Robert during the Greyjoy Rebellion, he won a battle off of Fair Isle using the land to win the battle. And we know this from the chapter of Victorian 1 in the Dance with Dragons. The memory of Fair Isle was still rankled in the Iron Captain's memory. Stannis Baratheon had descended upon the Iron Fleet from both north and south while they were trapped in the channel between the island and the mainland, dealing Victorian his most crushing defeat. Now, we can see these plans, I think, being brought into action in the sample chapter of Winds of Winter with Theon. Theon 1. And it goes like this. We hold the ground, and I mean to turn that to our advantage. The ground, said Theon. What ground? Here? This misbegotten tower? This wretched little village? You have no high ground here, no walls to hide behind, no natural defenses. Stannis, yet. Now the village itself, I think, provides the advantage. First, it's land. The land and the village around it is really what has the advantage that Stannis is thinking of. The village is between two lakes and a thin strip of land. It's very, very defensible. So, they may have meant to stop for a break, and I think during this break, Stannis saw this. And then that's when he decided to change his method from a chess strategy to a Go strategy. Now, using the art of war, I can tell you, and you can see right now, how Stannis will win this battle, and will win it pretty easily. Now, Sun Tzu says, it is essential to seek out enemy agents who came to spy against you and bribe them to serve you. We know Stannis is informed of the Karstark's betrayal and moves quick to deal with them. First move is he goes and he interrogates the Karstark's maester. You are a maester at the Dreadfort. How is it that you are here with us? Lord Ornoth brought me here to tend to his wounded. To his wounded or his ravens? Both, your grace. Both. Stannis snapped out the word. A maester's ravens flies to one place, and one place only. Is that correct? Now, before I say anything, I'm going to say something quick about the pink letter. And this is really just getting off topic, but real quick. People wonder if Stannis sent that letter, how he would have the pink wax. Well, it says right here, you are maester at the Dreadfort. So, you have to assume that he has pink wax, because he's a maester from the Dreadfort. Alright? Now back to this video. Now, questioning the maester revealed that the maester had 3 ravens, but only 2 of them were present. Alright? And 1 was missing. Now, I believe it is likely that that raven is the same one that delivered the message to Roose Bolton in A Dance with Dragons. And in this Theon chapter it says this. And what did that raven reveal? I will ask you once again, what was the message you sent to Winterfell? The maester quivered. A map, your grace. Now, if Roose Bolton has a map, he does have the necessary information to launch an attack against Stannis, because he knows his position. Roose, really not able to control the Freys and the Mandalays, who uses this information and sends them out to kill Stannis, because there's too much beef going on inside of Winterfell. People are dying and everything else. People assaulting Lord Manderley. And Roose has been known to go out there and destroy other forces and keep his own back. That's what he's done to Robb Stark's army when he was commanding them. He just did the whole thing himself and kept his troops back. So this is an invitation. So Roose is going to seize this opportunity after getting that to get rid of that. To get rid of these people and get them out of his hair so he could set up. And the food is going down. They don't have enough food. And it's just too much craziness. So he gets rid of them and he takes the opportunity to do so. Now, next Stannis deals with the Karstarks. Now, he has breakfast with them. And Stannis imprisons Arnold Karstark and his sons and his grandsons. And then the remainder of the Karstark people then are taken prisoner. Now, remember, Sun Tzu says, know your enemy and know yourself, and 100 battles you will never be in peril. Now, I've showed you how Stannis knows himself. Now I'm going to show you how Stannis knows his enemy through Theon. Theon says, Freys and Manderley will not combine their strengths. They will come for you separately. And that was in the Winds of Winter sample chapter. But I believe Stannis will be ready. And Stannis says, Bolton has blundered, the king declared. All he had to do was sit inside his castle while we starved. Now, Stannis knows from Theon the tactics used by Crowfu Umbers and those green boys he had out there, and he knows that it was already successful. And it says, Theon, so Crowfu set his boys to digging pits outside the castle gates, then blew his horn to lure Lord Bolton out. Instead, he got the Freys. The snow had covered up the pits, so they rode right into him. I think Stannis will attempt the same tactics against the Boltons. A thin strip of land between the 2 lakes destroys any type of numbers advantage an attacking army would have. And if the Boltons, like all the other people, use a chess-style attack, a head-on confrontation from the east, they would be stopped by the land. But, with saying that, I think Stannis wants the Boltons to see this and look for another way to get at him. So I have to take you to Stannis' second why I feel that way is Stannis' second advantage that he has in this place and why he stopped there. And that's that tower, the watchtower that he has on the southwest corner by the lake. At this tower, he can see any way anybody is going to approach. And he had a really good lay of the land from up there to see exactly how they would attack. And that is this. And that is why I believe that Stannis kept that beacon fire lit on top of that tower. And it says like this: "Afterward the king had retreated to his watchtower. He had not emerged since, though from time to time his grace was glimpsed upon the tower's roof, outlined against the beacon fire that burned there night and day." And that is from A Dance with Dragons. The chapter was The Sacrifice. Now, the word I believe that we really have to focus on here that is important is beacon fire. Beacon fire. Not big torch or something that's going to heat something, but beacon fire. Now, beacon fire is meant to draw people to a location. Alright? That's what you do. You signal the beacon so people can see you to come to you. Alright? They put those rocks right by the rocks so people could see. You know, that's the way it goes, right? So people could see you. And they know. But beacon means you want people to come to you. But why? If the Boltons, being from the north, right, and we have to assume that they would know that there's only that narrow strip of land between those lakes because they're from there. Alright? So they would have to know that they would likely be defeated on that land. Alright? So the only other way would be to come across the frozen lakes that's on the north and the south of the village. And with winter coming, the lakes would be frozen solid and able to be crossed. And the Boltons would likely be mounted. So an open area would make it much easier for them to come launch a mounted attack, right? That's what you would really believe. But I believe because of Sun Tzu, if you listen to his philosophies, that's wrong. Now Sun Tzu says, to win 100 battles is not the height of skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is. Earlier, we know that Stannis has given permission for his men to cut holes in the lake and fish. Now, it seems for a way just for Stannis to feed his army. But I believe he was using this for something more. Now Ned Woods, one of his scouts from Deepwood Mountain, he said this: "I know them lakes. You've been on them like maggots on a corpse, hundreds of you. Cut so many holes in the ice that the bloody wonder more haven't fallen through. Out by the island, there's pieces that look like cheese and rats been there." And that's from the Sacrifice chapter in A Dance with Dragons. So what I believe we have to take from this is cut so many holes in it, the ice itself, it's a bloody wonder more haven't fallen through. So remember the word more. So people have already fallen through. So how well will fully armored knights and horses do trying to cross this lake that people with regular clothes have already fallen through? I don't believe that it would be very successful. And now, my final thing I will say about this is Sun Tzu says this: "Put the army in the face of death where there is no escape, and they will not flee or be afraid. There is nothing they cannot achieve." And this is called death ground. Stannis has his men on death's ground right now. They're starving. They need a fight. They have nowhere to run. You see that people use that tactics of death ground all the time. You see the United States used it in Normandy. When they put those ships on that beach, there's nowhere to go but water behind you. So you have no choice but to go forward and ahead, or you're just going to sit there and die. And when you put people in death ground, amazing things happen. They fight for everything they believe in. And Stannis knows this. that his men are on death's ground. And he realizes that Bolton has made a mistake. And he said, I'll say it to you again. Bolton has blundered, the king declared. All he had to do was sit inside his castle while we starved. Now, I can't tell you how this battle will go. But I think it'll be something like this. I think the Freys will come first. They will charge right into the frozen lakes. And then the Mandalays behind them. And I think that it will be like this. And the Freys first, and not the Mandalays first, and then the Freys. Because it says in the Dance with Dragons chapter, it says this. It says, Lord Mandalay slapped his massive belly. White Harbor does not fear to ride with you, Sir Horstein. Lead us out, and my knights will ride behind you. So, I think that is what will happen. I think that they will ride out behind him. And then when he ride out behind them, whatever is left, they will stab up and Stannis will take them from the front. Now remember, Sun Tzu says you want to attack, when you fight a battle, you want to be a snake in a battle. Because if you are a snake, if they attack their middle, both sides can come and close. If they attack the one side, the left side, the tail, the head can reinforce it. And if they attack the head, the tail can reinforce it. So I think that's what happens here in this battle. They come charging into the lake, most of their forces. The Freys, boom, 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 boom. They don't know what's going on. They crash into it, dying. And then Stannis' men on the neural, like the 300, hold that wall, shield wall there. And Mandalay and them chop them up from behind. And that's it. And that's my conclusion of how and why I believe Stannis Baratheon will win the Battle of Ice. And now, my next... So it cut off real quick, so I had to put this back there. But yeah, that's what I believe will happen, and that's why I think Stannis will win the Battle of Ice. So yo, if you like what I do, please like my video. Please tell your peoples about me, and please subscribe. The more likes I get, the better it is, and the more people could see it. We try to get this to go viral. You know what I mean? So yo, like I said, next video will be one that a couple of people asked me for. I want to do the one for Lord Peter Baelish and one for T-Baby. I'm going to do those, and I'm do that in between doing the reviews and stuff like that. So as always, you know, it's the Don, Tony Teflon, House Teflon. Cheer! We pull the strings. Cheer! As always, peace.